Hi, I'm Katie Jones, Senior Consultant with McArthur Talent Architects. I'm here with David Aberdeen, Head of People and Culture at Royal District Nursing Services. Hi David.
Hi Katie.
Talent Architects recently partnered with RDNS on the Strategic Renewal Programme. David, can you tell us what initiated the Renewal Programme?
The Renewal Programme was really the accumulation of about 18 months worth of strategic planning to respond to the imminent changes, or the emerging changes rather, in the health landscape in Australia. And what we're seeing there is predominantly around a shift of funding from state to federal spaces and the increasing rise of consumer choice in the health space.
And what was it in particular about Talent Architects that made you choose to work with us?
The scale of the change was quite significant, so we weren't able to resource it from our usual business as usual resources, so we needed some support. We'd had experience of working with McArthur's before in more boutique circumstances, hiring individual jobs or small groups of jobs. So we included McArthur in a small group of companies that we talked to about how that company or those companies might assist us get from where we were to where we wanted to be in, I have to say, an unreasonable timetable and with unreasonable expectations of success. And I guess we're here today because McArthur's was the one that was most convincing about how they were going to put it forward. And the conviction I had that at the end of the day I'd be able to satisfy all of my stakeholders because McArthur's had done their bit, and that was of no small consideration.
It was great. I mean, obviously once we got the understanding of what your key business objectives were and your desired outcomes, that really gave us the opportunity to really design an appropriate solution that just fitted your needs exactly.
We had large numbers of interested parties. So we had well over 1,000 people who would be highly interested. And we had several hundred people who'd be particularly interested because, ultimately their careers were going to be affected by these changes. And it was important for us to, whilst it was unfortunate a small number of people were going to leave us at the end of it, we wanted them to leave in a way that they felt as good as possible about, and that all the people that stayed with us and became a part of, or continue to be a part of RDNS's future, felt good about that as well. So it was a really important internal stakeholder management activity as much as anything else. To be honest, Katie, the key, with hindsight, the key to success was really the effort you put into interrogating what we wanted. And the process made us really examine what we wanted because we thought we knew at the outset. And the way you took us through it made us, dot every I and cross every T. And that was really where the foundations for ultimately being successful came from. And we were enormously grateful for that, even though we still kept the pressure on you to meet those unreasonable timelines, which ultimately you did. And there was no unhappy customers at the end of the process. When you were working so closely with us, we found a number of objectives were kicked off. Not least the design and delivery of those assessment centres. As you said, large numbers of people in a short timetable, and geography was complicated as well. You made us use clearly defined competencies, and we had every potential to select the right people for the newly defined management roles, and that was really critical. You also developed that selection guide for us, and that was even more beneficial than we thought it would be going into the process. It put into the hands of the affected staff a really clear guide of what they could expect, when they could expect it, and what they might have to do. Hugely beneficial. The web portal for a distributed workforce was invaluable. It was easy to use, it stayed up when it should have stayed up, so it had really no hassles whatsoever. And again, probably one of the things that we didn't appreciate the value of it going into, but now would insist on doing the second time round. You even gave us, as a, unforeseen and unplanned for advantage in providing some change management contribution as well. So the experience of the McArthur team, and not least yourself, in talking us through the processes that we envisaged that we would launch, and challenging us on some of our assumptions and our expectations. And that was really not part of the brief, it was an added extra for which we were very grateful. And last, along the way, you provided all of those reports to us. So every week, or every Thursday, every Friday, we would get a report, how many people have applied, for what they've applied, how the assessment centres are going to be conducted, how many people we had to respond to, by when responses would be given, and by what date emails would be sent and people interviewed and so forth. So we were never left having to ask, we were always being told. And that meant that whenever we were asked, we were able to recount a detailed, up-to-date set of information for anyone who needed it at the time.
Yeah, it was an incredibly hectic time. I think that's a polite way of putting it. It took a lot of detailed planning and there were a lot of changes, but everybody was flexible around that. And I think if we look back at some of the things that we achieved, there was over 260 applications managed. I think it was over 75 hours of meetings, which I know you thoroughly enjoyed.
Particularly liked, yes.
About 1,300 emails and 32 assessment centres scheduled as well.
And at the end of it, we had virtually no complaints. We had the odd person who perhaps expected unreasonable standards of response or were unhappy with the actual outcome and so forth. But in the whole of it, it was complaint-free. And it was complaint-free not only from the employees, which was our original mission. We had no grief from other stakeholders, including unions or the government, who were very interested in what we were doing. I mean, it was quite a significant change for the organisation. We were able to meet all the promises that we'd made going into it. And at the end of the day, after the process had concluded and so forth, our informal and to some degree formal feedback is that whilst few people said they enjoyed the process, they all recognised that it was professionally done, that it needed to happen, and that us, RDNS engaged in McArthur's, was the right thing to do in the circumstances. So if we get in that place again, we'll be knocking on your door, we'll shave the time frames, and you'll shave the account by about 30%. So,
David, that's great. One thing that I can promise, though, the interrogation isn't going to stop.
I suspect not.
Okay. Thanks very much for your time today.
It's my pleasure, Katie.
It's been great to chat here.
Yeah, all good.
Look forward to working with you again in the future.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thanks.